Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got another 2024 rookie report here for you on the channel. And tonight we are going to discuss Mr. Brian Thomas Jr., an exciting wide receiver headed to the NFL draft, a guy that you'll be most likely drafting in the first or second rounds of your rookie draft. I'll be joined by Jason DiRienzo. We're going to go over everything you need to know about Thomas. We've watched his all-22 film. We're going to go over his scouting report. We're going to talk about draft capital, his stats, PFF grades, everything about Brian Thomas Jr. So he's got the combine coming up this week, which should shed some more light on his athleticism. But you play Dynasty, you play Fantasy, and you are looking for a YouTube channel out there that's going to give you content like this on rookies, not just for this year, but next year and the following year. We're already putting out content on scouting reports for future Dynasty assets. Hit that subscribe button. Please help me grow the channel. Enjoy the show. All right, Jason, let's get to our first rookie report of the night. And let's talk about Mr. Brian Thomas Jr., 6'4", 205-pound, 3-year player from LSU. His career stats, let's go through them here. We got just over 111 receptions, 1,700 yards, 21 TDs, averaging 15.6 average per catch. Played primarily out wide at 88%, so he didn't get much slot work. Reception percentage, 75%. Which is pretty juicy from doing these reports. Remember seeing any 75% or higher in a lot of these cases. Drops 14, 6.9%. His PFF grades across the spectrum aren't great. Receiving grade only a 74, contested catch rate 58%, grade versus man coverage 60%. That's in the under 50% percentile. Yards after catch 6.1. I think that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about when we talk about his scouting report. Deep catches tied 6 at 14, which comes to no surprise because that's really how he wins vertically. And his deep yards third overall with 632 yards. So I think from a kind of profiles what we're going to talk about in his scouting report. So I'm going to kick it off to you. So you tell me what you like about Brian Thomas. I mean, right now we're going to get into his draft capital, but he's probably number 3 or 4 for a lot of draft nicks out there. I cut up all 22 films of Florida State, and Wisconsin. So if you guys want access to that, hit me up via email in the show notes. Part of my dashboard subscription program, you can get access to those. What did you think of his all 22 film before we get to a scouting report?
I love the length and the athleticism combination there. That 6'4" frame with, that instant acceleration right off the line. I'll kind of just start there. I love the acceleration. He's got a nice speed release. He uses a single move to deviate and get around defenders, knows how to kind of manipulate and move the hips of the defender too. Not in a nuanced way, just understanding how to kind of move the defender with his high eyes and hips as he comes into the cushion. So I really like that a lot. You see the deep speed. He's got a second gear that he hits, and he's got that long speed that really allows him to stack defenders. I like the ball tracking ability, catching outside of his frame. If it's on the short route, he kind of gets right off the line and sits in that soft spot of the zone, just waiting for the ball to get to him. Uh, knows how to exploit those soft coverages, so I like that too. But the catch radius, the adjustment to the ball is all there. He's not a huge contested catch guy as far as fighting off contact and stuff, but the adjustment, the body control, the vertical explosion, it's all there catching outside of his frame. I like that a lot. So I think he is definitely a deep threat, but he has the ability to be, a nice resource in the middle of the field and get yards after the catch if he's in open space. So those are elements of his game that I really think are going to translate well.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think everything that you said there, I mean, he's going to be the vertical guy. The body control.
Mhm.
His highlight film is just littered with making deep vertical catches, adjustments
Oh
to the
yeah.
ball. He's got good. Looks like he's got good long arms as well, so he can go up and get that. I thought he could use a little bit more physicality, at the catch
Agreed.
point. I'm
Yeah,
not going to,
agreed.
like he went up and got the ball. If it was placed over his shoulder, he got it. But when he had to adjust and go in and get the fighting, I think he came up a little short in the physical part for me. And the other thing, I agree with all the positives. So I'm going to just bring up one of the negatives. The one thing, like his yards after the catch ability, I think is average at best. And the one
Mhm.
thing that I thought watching those films, I was really frustrated with those 3 particular games that I cut up on the all 22 film, because it was a lot of, we'd run 10 yards with off coverage. he'd turn around and he'd get the ball, and then but you watch his yak ability from when he got the ball, and usually he had 5 or 6 yards of separation, not because he created it, but because they were playing like a backpedaling kind of defensive, program against
Right.
him, and they weren't like putting him on there. I didn't think he was really great at being elusive with the ball in his hands, and I don't think he likes to attack defenders, and I don't think he loves contact at the point of getting tackled. And you know me and physicality,
I agree with you, man.
I look at
Yeah.
that and it's like he doesn't run tough. There was a couple times where he just like went to the ground a little early because he didn't want to get hit. He runs out of bounds, instead of laying the lick. And we did Xavier Worthy, one of these shows, and we just, this was one of the things I pointed out in his game that he just laid the lumber on some of these guys as that young receiver, man. And I love that physicality. But his run after the catch ability, I think, is going to be very. That's not one of his strengths, and that's one of the knocks that I have on his scouting report is, I have on here, he's not a yards after the catch kind of creator. And I'm not going to lie, my physicality radar is up just a little bit of how much he likes, and looking at his production stats. I mean, he had 1,100 yards in 2023, but before that, he had less than 400 yards in 2 seasons. So he is really a 1 year kind of wonder. Good
Mm.
player. I don't think he's all world rounded though to be getting the kind of number 4 top 12, 13, 14 pick in the first round. I know we're going to get to his draft capital, and maybe we can get there now. Is there anything else about his scouting profile you want to talk about?
No, the one thing you nailed the like the play strength part of it. Azariah Thomas, the FSU DB, I had to look him up because he gave him a hard time when I was watching the All 22 FSU game, and I was like, man, who is this kid? So. He's a sophomore, 6'2", 194 pounds, and sure enough, Brian Thomas was allowing Thomas to get inside, which I want to see more physicality. You shouldn't allow the defender to get inside and knock the ball away. You should be a little bit more physical. So when you brought that up, that was a great point because that is definitely something I saw too. I'm hoping he's not one dimensional just as that deep threat. I want to see him be a little bit more. And what I talked about his yards after the catch ability, I mentioned in space because I'm not sure it's going
Yeah.
to happen if he gets the catch with contact right there or a DB at his hip. I'm not sure if he's getting yards after the catch there, but in space, I feel fine about it. I see him in zone, and sure enough, he's able to do it as he should be. With those long strides, eating up some real estate. So that was a great point, man.
Yeah, and I think you look at Neighbors play, and one of the things that makes him so special is his yards after the catch ability, and it's just
Hmm. Right.
a clear difference on the field. You can usually see it by not even knowing what number is. If you in that all 22 film, you're so high up, you can hardly sometimes see like who the hell's got the ball. But
Right.
so let's get to his draft capital. And like I said, I mean, right now he's number 4 for a lot of people. And after kind of watching the all 22 film this week, he's kind of went down my ranks just a little bit because I have a feeling he might be more of a one-dimensional player than a well-rounded space creator at all 3 levels of the field. That's just my opinion. Right now, he's going to be in a mid to early draft capital, but I've seen him go back and he's got a ton of mock drafts going to the Buffalo Bills, which is later. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's more of a middle to late round pick, but I won't be surprised at all if Xavier Worthy, not Xavier Worthy, but like Troy Franklin gets in front of him, or someone takes with Lad McConkey. Where do you see his draft capital at?
I still think he's going to be a first round pick, and that's just because of the projection. And that's where I have a difficulty with this because I'm trying to figure out how to project him. I understand the upside, I do.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I wanted to see a little bit more, especially from a guy who is so productive. And PFF just put out their draft guide, and I'm looking at the routes, and the majority of his yards came off goes and hitches, and I'm thinking, okay, well, he's got a limited route tree, but so did George Pickens, and George Pickens is doing okay. I
Mhm.
think we could see something similar. This isn't necessarily comp, more maybe production to maybe Brian Thomas can do something similar to what George Pickens did while, his first year with the Steelers. So I could see him still being a first round pick without all the nonsense that Pickens had.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, let's just get right into his rookie draft. If he does get
Let's
drafted
do
by
it.
the Bills in the first round, oof, there's no way
Oh,
he's
that's
getting,
no.
is
I mean, it's over with at that
yeah,
point,
yeah. Whether
you
you
know?
like Brian Thomas Jr. or not, you're still
Right.
gonna pick him just for the landing spot because that's just kind of what happens, right?
Yeah, don't
Um,
get cute.
yeah,
It's pretty simple
yeah,
at that point.
yeah, exactly right. But Yeah, so I mean, I think he would be a late round first, but I think he's going to be most likely a second round pick. If he gets that late day one draft capital, but late first, early second is where I see him coming off. So give me your comp for him. Who was your player comp?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as I'm watching the film, I kept thinking like a Terrace Marshall, DJ Chark type. That's the same role that Brian Thomas is playing that those two kind of played, down the seam, on go routes. I do like the fact that Brian Thomas, unlike Terrace Marshall, was in the slot. Thomas was on the outside and had to phase man press coverage and showed me a nice speed release and a couple single double moves. So that was good. But I see DJ Chark and, as we're talking about the athleticism part of it, I didn't realize, I had to go look it up. Chark ran a 4.34, a 40-inch vertical, and a 10.9 broad jump. I mean, if I'm thinking the type of athleticism that I expect from Brian Thomas, I'm not even sure it's that good, but it's gonna be very similar. I could see him just being that deep threat like DJ Chark.
Yeah, my comp was Martavius Bryant. I remember him.
I could see that too. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
just he was that deep threat, down the boundary, taller, kind of thinner frame body. But that's when I watched Brian Thomas. That's the one player that kind of popped into my mind. Played for the Steelers, right, for many many years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in the black and gold. So yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. There, you guys go, man. That is our rookie report for him. Exciting player. It'll be interesting to see where he's drafted in the first round this year.